Alright, what's good YouTube? Prince here. I just wanted to do like a quick video. Hopefully this video is not too long, but I just wanted to do a quick video about what I think some fun balance changes could be implemented into this game. Not in terms of a competitive aspect, because this game's not competitive. It's not made to be competitive, but games should be fun nonetheless. So I think these changes would make the game more fun. If it makes the game more balanced, that's cool too, but I think these changes would make the game more fun. I'm playing these matches with Golden Freiza, so you'll see some good high-level Golden Freiza matches in the background playing in the video. Hopefully, if this all syncs up right, at least. But yeah, I'm just going to talk about changes to the game that would make the game more fun and enjoyable to play in an online environment. And changes that are, like there's like this notion that this game's just like BT3. And I'm going to debunk that in a bit, but I think for the first change that would make the game actually more enjoyable to play online, first things first, this game has a big rage quitting issue in this game, big rage quitting problem. I'd say at least 48% of the matches that I play end in a rage quit. Now, all the videos that should be playing in the background, provided I did this right, none of these will have any of my opponents rage quitting, so I try to get like the best matches. These are pretty much just back-to-back matches, honestly. And it was fun. There was no Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, no After Image Merchant with Super Vegito, none of that stuff. Now, as opposed to After Image, that's another thing that needs to be addressed. Yes, people say you can counter After Image by actually okay, hear me out. You want to counter After Image by just by doing key spamming, or go into sparking if your character has instant sparking, and just burst them down with key blast. Now, there actually is a counterplay to the counterplay, which would be revenge counter. Not many people know this in this game, but you can actually revenge counter key blast. Yes, you actually can do that. Just let one key blast hit you, and then, I mean, for me, I'm playing on classic controls, so for me, revenge counter would be I think revenge counter for me would be left thumbstick on the PS5 pad or whatever. So I'm not really sure what it is on standard, what it is for standard, but whatever your button is for revenge counter, let one key blast hit you, revenge counter, and then you'll be right in their face. And that's pretty much the counterplay for people. But see, that's the thing. There's counterplay for people using After Image. If you fight, not everybody you fight in this game that uses After Image is bad. There's actually a lot of fundamentally good players that play Vegito and use After Image Strike. Like, they can do combos. They know how to. They will super counter your Vanish Wars. And on top of that, like, they actually can mix you up. And now you got to deal with After Image Strike on top of that, which does last 15 seconds. And the way the game works is, another change that should be addressed is you build skill gauge way too quickly off of Vanish Wars, off of recovery, and especially off of getting hit or beaten up by your opponent. So if you're ever playing these matches and it seems like your opponent has After Image Strike 24/7, even though you think that you're in control of the match because you're beating them up, that's the main reason. You get an enormous amount of skill gauge from getting beat up, getting into Vanish Wars, and you build a little, skill gauge off of recovery and stuff like that too. And another change I think that should be addressed, just to make the game more fun, because yes, there's some counterplay for After Image Strike, but not really if your opponent has more skill gauge than you, because if Vegito has, like, he pops After Image Strike, he's got 2 skill gauge left. You have 1. You could try and try and keep him out with Key Blast. He could just get hit by 1 Key Blast, revenge counter, boom, now he's in your face. What are you going to do about it? And I think, addressing how much we gain skill gauges off of these Vanish Wars would help. Another thing that needs to go is, a lot of these instant sparking moves wouldn't be such a big issue if they weren't really put on such tremendously strong characters that had unblockable ultimates. Now, thankfully, I don't think Golden Frieza's ultimate's unblockable. If it is, somebody in the comments, let me know. But a lot of people say, "Oh, this is just like BT3." No, in BT3 there is no unblockable ults, none. The only quote-unquote unblockable ults in BT3 were some characters had super moves, or some characters had ults where they would actually grab you. But guess what? You could actually tech the grab. So it wasn't like it was unfair. You could actually tech the grab. You can even tech grabs when you're caught in a heavy punch animation from a square triangle, Well, depending on your character, that is. Whichever character has gut punches. But mostly all characters do have gut punch, so that's that's the thing over there. So yeah, unblockable ultimates, they need to go. They weren't in BT3. And another thing with Vanish Wars need to do what they do in BT3. I'm kind of like spitballing off the top of my head right here. Vanish Wars in BT3, if you got into a Vanish War with your opponent, whoever ran out of key first would instantly end the Vanish War. So if you were right about to run out of key and you vanished one time, what the game would do is the game would position your character like 3 meters away from the enemy to their left, and the Vanish War would just end. You wouldn't get your opponent wouldn't get a free hit off you simply for having more key than you. The Vanish War would just end. If you get into a Vanish War in BT3 and someone doesn't have any key no more, they will do one last teleport behind you to your side, and then it resets to neutral. You don't continue engaging in another Vanish War. And I think that's exactly what it needs to do in Sparking Zero. Because honestly, I think Super Vegito Blue is, I think, a top 2 character. He's underrated because a lot of the game at higher level is managing your ki, because your ki it's just managing resources. That's why if you get really good at being able to super counter Vanish Wars, then you're pretty much goated, because your consumption of ki isn't an issue. Like you're saving ki, and your opponent's wasting ki. Although you do want to get involved in little Vanish Wars eventually, or what you would do is if your opponent has more ki than you keep super counting in the Vanish War, and then once you have more ki, then you just completely just keep vanishing, because vanishing in Vanish Wars builds stock, builds skill gauge, which is very important. But yeah, for the BT3, people saying it's just like BT3. No, in BT3 in a Vanish War, it sped up, and when someone ran out of ki, they would teleport one last time, and the Vanish War would instantly come to a halt. It would instantly end, and that'd be a thing. And also in BT3, we had this thing called key sickness. I think it needs to come back to this game to make the game more fun, not just balance. In terms of balancing around this game, I'm talking more of what would make the game fun to play in the long run. It is not fun, or if some people want to say skill issue, it's not fun to go into instant sparking, right? And then, oh yeah, that was funny. Instant transmission. Instant transmission is really underrated in this game. You lose lock on with your opponent, and yeah, as you can see. But in Sparking, what am I saying? BT3, there was key sickness for a lot of moves. Like, if used, first off, after Image Strike didn't have you dodge for 15 seconds. So can we please stop with this argument that the game is just like BT3? No, the game has a lot of similarities to BT3, especially with how the combos work. But some parts of the combo, not so much. Like, for instance, if you do a hard knockdown in this game, you can follow up with either an ultimate or even a rush super. In BT3, if your opponent was on the ground or sliding on the ground, you could pick them up, but you could not pick them up with a rush super. You could not knock your opponent to the ground. They're sitting on the ground, and then you do a rush super, and the rush super is going to combo and pick them up. No, that's not how it worked. The rush super would just instantly whiff because they're on the ground. You wouldn't get it as opposed, let's say, Oki, just because they're laying on the ground with a rush super. And that's another thing that's in Sparking Zero that's not in BT3. So can we please stop this? Oh, it's just like BT3. No. Even charging ki, like, I find that once your character is at full power, where like the yellow gauge is full, you charge into Sparking extremely fast, even faster than BT3. I might try and find a BTB ROM later and try and like do a comparison to see how fast you charge ki. But even like max mode or sparking mode, as it is called in Sparking Zero, it really wasn't that scary in Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Like, the worst thing you would have to worry about is like, square rush combo if they're in max mode in BT3. But they wouldn't, how do I say this? You didn't have to worry about unblockable ultimates. You didn't have to worry about key blast, and 2 unblockable ultimate, because one, there was no unblockable ultimates in BT3. And even trying to attempt that many key blasts in BT3 would actually drain your ki a lot faster. In this game, you could do 1,000,000 key blasts. It doesn't drain your ki. The only thing that's going to drain your ki in sparking mode is time, and time goes down very slowly, or doing a super. That's it. which is why you could do, a super, a rush super, and then depending on the character's animation, if it connects, you could do an ultimate right after, or you could do a chain together another one. It's all up to you what you want to do. And the whole thing with super counters, in this game, it's a 4 frame window, and the lockout window is a lot shorter. I would suggest that it goes back to how it was in BT3, where super counters were literally a 1 frame link, and it had a big lockout window. You couldn't just mash super counters. I don't know why they implemented this change. Maybe I understand, like, you don't want to see people take too big combo damage and just die all like that, especially with how some of these characters hit really hard, like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Full Power Jiren, which is honestly the best character to play in singles right now. But it wasn't like that. Another thing was I think another change that could make this game more fun is changing how perception works in this game. Yes, perception was in BT3, but it did not work at all how it works in Sparking Zero. For instance, the way combos worked in BT3 was combos were quote unquote real if your opponent could not vanish your heavy attacks or vanish the last hit of your rush chain or the first hit, or you know what I mean? Like, for instance, if you're getting put in combo BT3, your options were vanish if they go into a flying kick or whatever, or they go into the next chain of the last chain of the rush. You couldn't vanish the second, third, or fourth part of the rush attacks. You can only vanish the first hit of the rush attack or the last hit of the rush attack for square, square, square. But combos were in a sense real from the front, where if you were getting combos from the front, you had to either vanish or super counter. You could not block. You could not block as soon as you get put into like the first frame of a combo. So combos were real from the front. Now in Sparking Zero, if we want to even engage in that situation, we have to hit them from the back, pause. We have to do back shots, pause. You have to, and it creates this annoying meta thing where, like, I played a lot of matches off stream where it's just me and my opponent constantly trying to sidestep to each other's back. Two grown-ass men playing a game trying to just get to each other's back, right? Like, right you see here, right? Because from the back, I'm not saying everything is guaranteed, but from the back, they cannot block. Blocking is not guaranteed from the back. Once they get put into the first frame of a combo, just like what it was in BT3 from the front, I think maybe it should go back to that so matches would be more fun, because if you play this game online, not many people really want to throw hands with you. They kind of want to just go into instant sparking, and then if they have an unblockable ultimate like Full Power Jiren or Z Legendary Broly, they're gonna spam Key Blast, and they can move freely. And like, if you're just blocking, they can get to your back eventually by just holding left on the analog stick. They'll eventually get to your back. If you're deflecting, this is actually even worse, because not only can they get to your back, but when you're deflecting in this game, oh yeah, you beat me right there. When you're deflecting in this game, you're not actually blocking. That's the thing. You're not blocking. You're just deflecting. So I'll see a lot of people on stream, they'll complain like, "Well, I was deflecting and I got hit with a ultimate. I got hit with a super. Why was I blocking?" No, like, deflecting and blocking is two different things. When you deflect, you actually build even skill gauge even faster than opposed to a Vanish War. But you're completely defenseless to rush supers, or any supers for that matter, because your character is considered to be in a parry state, not in an actual blocking state. It makes a lot of these matches unfun because it's just two people. Is you constantly trying to get around perception. Your opponent's just holding perception. We've all played matches like that. They're holding down perception, and you're trying to get to their back. You're trying to get to their back. You're trying to get to their back. They hold perception, and not only when you hold perception, you can also tech a throw when you're in perception. I think what it needs to do to make the game more fun is when you're holding down perception, you're locked out of teching a throw for 15 seconds. For like, not 15 seconds, but for like 10 seconds. And they could play maybe a special animation where you throw them. Just so we could like get rid of this like whole perception meta. Like, from the back, he wasn't able to super counter or even get the timing down. And then I just get a hard knockdown and I end the combo with a super. But it kind of went to a rant, but this is pretty much me ranting about changes and stuff that I think would make the game more fun if we were to just change it all together. No, this game's not exactly like BT3. For those of you that haven't gotten the game, it's not completely like BT3. It is amazing. It's fun to play, but not so much fun when you play online. But yeah, these are just my ideas of what we could do to implement, change or whatever's wrong with the game currently to make the game more fun. I don't need this to be a competitive, viable game. I just need to be a fun to play game online. Not everything needs to be competitive. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, all that good stuff.